It is a football Friday here on Birds 365. The first in-season football Friday. I guess we're not in season with the Eagles yet, but we're in season with the NFL because it got underway last night. We're going to talk about that, the Eagles and the Patriots. A lot to do over the next 2 hours with your Mac and Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald, even though Johnny Mac is going to exit stage left for hour number 2. Got to get over to South Philly, get some more info on the upcoming Eagles and Pats games. Nice to sit in front of the TV and watch football last night, right, Johnny Mac?
Yeah, it was sloppy, but it's nice to get the game back. Kadarius Toney, oof. I mean, that was an embarrassing performance for Kadarius. You know, to the point you start to, is he shaving points out there, Jody? But I think it was a big win for Detroit from a confidence standpoint. I think they're a good team. They didn't play well either. I mean, I mentioned, I think yesterday on the show, I'd be disappointed in that team if they lost without Kansas City not having Chris Jones and Travis Kelce. Well, they should have lost if Kadarius Toney could catch simple passes, but they won, and I think that has a chance to sort of bolster their confidence because it's a young team that hasn't done it before.
Right.
They haven't won at a high level before, and I think they have an opportunity. I think they're going to win that division pretty easily. I think they're going to be a playoff team, and that helps them because if you beat a team with the reputation of the Chiefs on the road, I think that helps.
Although the Eagles will never use the word, sorry about that, I'm going to use the word because I think it is part of it, there's a little luck involved in sports. And when you face off against the defending champions and they're missing their second and third best player, that had nothing to do with you. You didn't do anything about that, Detroit Lions. No, they've got a contract negotiation ongoing, and you got a little injury right before the year starts to the best tight end in football. That's just good luck. And you have to cash in the chips on good luck when it is handed to you. And that's exactly what the Detroit Lions did. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes could sue for lack of support from last night's game. Tony was the worst, but he had other balls dropped. They were just dropping balls left and right.
The receivers were terrible.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And it tells you, I mean, too many people boil it down to quarterback versus quarterback. I talk about it all the time. Well, that was Patrick Mahomes against Jared Goff. You need some help at some point. And this kind of stuff happens all the time. But yeah, they without Travis Kelce, they're a completely different team. We talked about their ability to handle, and I was surprised. I give them a lot of credit, the loss of Tyreek Hill. But you still had Kelce. Now, without either of them, oof. That's all you can say. It was not good. And those kinds of players matter, to say the least. And I know Eagles fans are probably wishing Kadarius Toney could have had that kind of game in the Super Bowl. You never know. I mean, that's just bad football. Now, maybe it's sloppy being week one. I mean, but that's a good player. I hated that pick for the Giants at the time. I didn't think it was a very good draft pick, and it didn't work out for the Giants. But
yeah,
he's got talent, and he was just terrible. There's, all you can do is turn the page on that.
And if you really want to read REID into it, Andy Reid plays his guys in preseason. We from time to time question, is it the right way to do it, the way the Eagles do it, putting the guys in bubble wrap for preseason, only worried about joint practices, one of which they lost this year. So 3 full practice. That's it. The Eagles base their entire preseason on 3 practices. Again, two against the same team.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yet, guess what?
There's going to be some sloppiness in Foxborough as well. And we've already seen it with the Eagles.
I'll go out on a limb and say not even Quez Watkins is going to drop 3 balls, one of which is going to be caused.
Not like that. Not like that. That's, yeah. And Tony, you mentioned, yeah, they practice more than most. They still do, but he was banged up, so he didn't practice a lot specifically. So maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, I don't expect anybody. Forget about Quez Watkins. You could go down to the practice squad and Bring up, well, Greg Ward's not going to drop it, but bring up anybody. They're not dropping 3 balls like that. I mean, and one turns into a pick six. You know, the last drop, he makes that catch. They're already in field goal range. They're probably going to win the game because they have a very good kicker. So, yeah, I mean, he killed him. He killed him last night, and it's rare you can hang a loss on one specific player. You can feel pretty comfortable hanging that loss on Kadarius Toney.
And oh, by the way, the one late was huge, but earlier in the game, this is one of the things I always harp on when it comes to evaluating players. You got to remember the exact situation if you're going to put a lot on one play. Patrick Mahomes threw a pick six last night. That wasn't on Patrick Mahomes. That was on Kadarius Toney. Goes right through his hands to a defensive back who takes it to the house 2 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, a month and a half from now, 2 months. It's, Patrick Mahomes threw a pick six game one. Yeah, he did, but he didn't.
You're in my wheelhouse, man. Everybody's like, they look at the box score and they say, oh, Dak threw a pick six. Watch the play.
Right.
Sometimes it's on the quarterback. Sometimes it's not. Certainly that was not on the quarterback. And it, on the other side, Brian Branch, a good young player, people will say a month from now, well, he had a pick six. Well, it was a gift. It was a gift.
Presented to him on a platter.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a huge context guy. I'd love to hear you say that. Yeah. Anybody who saw that knows it wasn't on Patrick Mahomes, but it's on his record.
Right. And it will never change. And the other thing about last night, call it sloppy, call it what you want. And it doesn't matter now, but as we said, I was sitting here watching the game. I woefully disagreed with both coaches late in that game going for it on fourth down.
Yeah.
What the hell was...
You know what bothered me, Jody? Because I like Dave Phipp. The early going for it backed up on the fake punt. And the whole freaking broadcast, and I rarely listen to announcers, but I'm going to complain about the rare time I'm going to complain about announcers. They're saying, oh, what a decision by Dan Campbell. Now, he's the head coach. I get it. But come on, mention the special team score. Come on. At some point in the 75th time, you're playing sycophant for Dan Campbell, who I like. Don't get me wrong. I think he's fun. I think he's honest. I like him as a motivator. But come on, that's Dave Bibb. Give him some credit. Give him some hat tip and acknowledgement. Right. Because, that's an issue for me in Philadelphia. He was a great special teams coordinator. He gets his team, and I got big questions about the special teams on this team. So I wish Dave would have got some love.
Here, I agree with you. It is on the head coach. Because if it works, he's going to get the majority.
Oh, yeah.
Not all, as you're pointing out last night, according to the announcers. It was all the credit. I'm with you. You got to mention the special teams coordinator. But if you get it wrong, it's going to be on the head coach, too. You take that chance, you don't get it. Mahomes sticks in the end zone 2 plays later. What the hell is Dan Campbell thinking? Not what the hell play did Dave Phipp call? No, it is about the head coach. But the coordinator should be part of the conversation. You were right about that. And I thought that was nervy. And I did like it. But in the fourth quarter, you can't give the ball back to Mahomes there. You can't go for it on fourth down. You got to try and punt and pin him in at the 1 yard line. And oh, by the way, you don't get it. All he needs is a field goal. You go for the field goal. Now you're up. You at least got to make Mahomes score a touchdown. I thought that was a terrible decision by Campbell. And then Andy Reid gets the ball back 2 minutes ago, incomplete passes. He's a penalty. He's looking at 4th and 20. He's going to go for it. They jump offside, or the lineman comes up too early.
That guy was jumping.
25, they gave him another chance to make the right call, and he still didn't. He still went for it. What was Reed thinking? You got all 3 timeouts left. You got to punt the ball. You got to try and pin him back. Then you let Mahomes, with not much time left, but some time left, try and pull off his magic if you can get a stop.
That's the new NFL, man. That's from Detroit's perspective. You're trying to win the game. You got to, Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. And again, one play. If Kadarius Toney makes that catch, that was right after that. If he makes that catch, I think that was the second play after that. If he makes that catch, they're already in field goal range. They're going to lose the game. But I don't. They're trying to seize the moment, trying to win on the road against the reigning Super Bowl champions. And that's what they do. They're very aggressive, and that's their mentality, and that's sort of what they usually do. Now, Andy, yeah, that's not typical Andy way of doing stuff. Uh, all I can say is they know how Detroit plays. So, um, you know, Ben Johnson's going to go for it on fourth down if they have to. They're going to come up with wrinkles and do some innovative stuff. And it's going to be very difficult. Remember, you only got to get 10 yards and 4 downs. So game's probably going to be over. And he's got Patrick Mahomes, and he took a shot. And by the way, he was almost there. He almost did it. But again, those receivers were so awful. All of them. I mean, to Tony first and foremost, but all of them. He almost, if that's Justin Jefferson out there, they could convert that. But they don't have Justin Jefferson out there. So I get it. But yeah, it's obviously a low percentage play. I mean, even with Patrick Mahomes. But if it were, the backup, if it were Chad Henne, who the heck is their backup now? Chad was banging the drum. I don't even know who their backup is. But he's probably not going to do that, and he's probably going to play the percentages. But with Patrick, you take a shot.
But here's the problem: he didn't have Justin Jefferson to put in that game, or AJ Brown, or Devonta Smith. It was still going to be Kadarius Toney and Watson, and I did not think he was converting 4th and 25. I had an issue with both of them. And sure enough, they don't get on 4th and 25. Lions get 8 yards on the first 2 downs. Kansas use their timeouts, and they go Montgomery up the middle, just like blatantly up the middle. Why do I think Chris Jones would have made that stop? It just pointed to the fact that Kansas City was playing handicap.
But I'm not. I'm getting too on. This is very rare for me. But again, they made David Montgomery out to be some kind of star. They better get the ball to Gibbs quickly, because that guy's got no explosion whatsoever. I think his longest run was 8 yards. Yeah, he's physical. He can move the pile 2 or 3 yards. And their offensive line is great. Detroit's offensive line they're right there, top 5 with the Eagles. It is a really good offensive line. But yeah, David Montgomery, he doesn't have much left. I thought that was a bad decision by Brad Holmes. Gibbs will be fine. It's a matter of how much traffic can you give him, and should you have taken him at 12 overall. But yeah, David Montgomery trading for Williams, I don't like that.
And oh, by the way, here's the thing about Gibbs. And Gibbs showed some burst last night. He's got some serious speed. He also likes to play physical, and he's not that big.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I have concerns that he's going to have a somewhat of a shelf life in the NFL. He's an undersized guy who likes to drop his shoulder and just take on contact. If they're going to use him the way they used him last night, then you're probably going to be fine. If they do, like John is suggesting, make him the lead back and make Montgomery the change of pace when you need short yardage, pound it in the middle type guy, it'll probably be more effective, but you may end up putting Gibbs in some danger. I'm a little scared about his.
That was a Jalen Reagor level performance by actually, it was worse. I can't even say that. Jalen never played that poorly.
Yeah, he never had 3 drops in one game that were, and each and every single one of them seemed to get more important than the next. All right, what did you learn yesterday over in South Philadelphia, John?
What did I learn? Did I learn anything?
Brian Johnson say anything that lent any light to what to expect against the Patriots come Sunday?
Well, Michael Clay kind of, I guess he had to, not there was any doubts, said, well, you kind of know the non-confirmation confirmation, but it still left a door open to punt returner. And it was interesting because they were returning punts at practice, early in practice when we were allowed there. And the first guy to take a rep all by himself was Britton Covey. And I'm like, well, all right, Britton's going to be the punt returner. There's your two elevations, Aaron Cepas and Britton Covey. And then when the rest of the punt returners came, they give reps to Olamide Zacchaeus. Devontae takes reps in case they need a big punt return in a big situation, which they've done in the past and will do again. And who am I missing? Greg Ward was another practice squad guy, obviously taking reps. And Quez was taking some reps, which you don't want that happening.
Quez punt returning? Really?
Yeah. I do not know why this team he is not like I think you're too harsh on Quez as a receiver. I'm fine with Quez being the third receiver on this team.
Well, I don't want here's why, and I'm going to defend myself here. Here's why I'm hard on Quez. Quez had a bad year last year, plain and simple. Bad. Not Kadarius Toney bad, but pretty damn bad. And, oh, by the way, when you call yourself elite, you better be damn well elite.
Well, that was
that he's ever elite. So I stand by my Quez shut up and play stance on the Eagles' third wide receiver.
Well, that was a dumb statement, but he also admitted he had a bad season. So you can look at it both ways. He also admitted he didn't play up to the standard that he, needs to. And then he called himself elite as he built himself back up in the offseason. That was in training camp. I can't criticize a guy for having competence, although that was a dumb statement. You don't say that. But anyway, bigger term.
I'm not calling him on a cup but you set the bar. So guess what? I'm now going to hold you to that bar.
If that's your bar
factor to say that this is what you're going to do. Okay, now go ahead and do it. I'm going to be paying very close attention, Quez.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's not going to reach that bar. We can both agree on that. But as far as, and not only punt returner, he's never returned a punt. As a kick returner, he returned kicks, and he was bad at it because, there's, first of all, there are two different positions. One, the kick returner, you need to be able to break that first tackle. You need some power, and then you got to get up to your long speed as quickly as possible if you get to the open field. Now, he's got the second part of it, but when he gets tapped, he's going down. So he's not a good kick returner. Punt returner is different. You need the short area quickness. It's like a slot cornerback. You need to make the first guy miss in a different way, be shifty, and then get going. And he doesn't have that. Again, he's got the long speed, but he can't get there to get up to full RPMs. So I don't know why the Eagles keep, and they don't. I mean, he's not returning kicks anymore. And he's not going to return punts, but I don't even know why they're even wasting reps. But anyway, I digress. The larger point is when they all came together, Olamide was still taking the first team reps as the punt returner. He's on the roster. Britton isn't. But I get in the locker room and the indications are that Britton's going to be the guy. So there's still some uncertainty, at least a little bit when it comes to punt returner. But I think at the end of the day, prediction wise, it's going to be Britton Covey. So those are going to be your two elevations, Aaron Cepas and Britton Covey.
And the elevations are fine. That's within the rules, but somebody's got to sit. You got to cut this roster down. You and I went through it yesterday, and it ain't easy. That's a good thing that isn't easy. That means the Eagles have a good deep roster, but some guys going to be disappointed when you're elevating guys from the practice squad. That means guys who made the 53 are all pumped up. They're Eagles. They don't have to worry about elevations. Oh, unless, of course, you're deactivated and someone from the practice squad is
activated. That's why, I don't want to pick on people, but there's certain guys, who are not going to be active. And probably number one on that list because of the depth of the position. And he's also, had a recent concussion is Moro Ajomo. Like Moro's he's not dressing.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that. He's a rookie 7th round pick. You have all this depth. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. And that's red
That's
shirt them all year.
that's one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But my point,
they got to come up with, if you've got 2 elevations, 53 down to 46 is 7 plus 2 is 9. Morrow and Jomo 1. You got to come up with 8 more guys, Johnny Mac.
No, I understand what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to, and then I hear somebody ask Morrow, is he fired up for his first NFL game to be on the field? And I'm like, come on. I mean, come on. Some self-awareness. So
Yeah,
that's all I was bringing up. Morrow. Yeah, you got to make, they're not dressing 4 tight ends. We talked about it yesterday. I assume it's going to be Albert O not dressing because he just got here, but maybe they think he's that much better than Grant Calcaterra. You got Tyler Steen versus Suo Pata on the offensive line. One of those guys is not going to dress. Kentavious Street versus Marlon T. I would think it's New England, so I think it's Street because you need the run defender, but who knows what the Eagles are thinking. The young corners, Goodrich and Ricks. I mean, yeah, they're not going to be core special teamers by all indications, so they're probably not going to dress. It's probably going to be a red shirt situation there. Yeah. And then running back is interesting because are you going to dress all 4? Because it looks like Boston's a kickoff returner.
right. So
then you got to dress all 4.
Is Penny, who could potentially see inactivity. You didn't put Ringo in to the mix of the young cornerbacks. And for me, he was the worst young quarterback, at least prepping for the season. Know his draft status, get that. Do you think he's going to be that good on special teams that they'll say, all right, we know we're risking. If Bradbury goes down, if Slay goes down, we're putting an inexperienced guy who hasn't shown he's ready to play on the field from the line of scrimmage in the NFL. You think they're ready to go there just because he might be a better special teams player than either Goodrich or Rich?
I think they are. Is it the right decision? Yeah, he was the worst of the group of cornerbacks. Playing cornerback, he was even worse than Mekhi Gardner on the practice squad. Like of that foursome, he was the worst playing corner. But he's got the highest. Obviously, he's not getting cut. He's got the pedigree. He's got the long-term ceiling, and they do think he's a better special teams player than Ricks and Goodrich. And yeah, Michael was talking about him. Now, Sidney Brown is going to be the other punt gunner opposite Josh Jobe. That's where I thought Ringo would fit in. Would you rather have a backup gunner or a backup corner? I'd rather a backup corner. But then where you go? I mean, let's be honest.
What do you mean, for gunner?
No, I'm saying, would you on game day, would you ever rather have a backup gunner or a backup cornerback? I'd rather take my best backup cornerback. But I don't know if either of those guys are ready to play either. So, yeah, I would say Goodrich, if you force me, he's the most ready to play. He's the most ready to play. But is he ready to play? I can't say that definitively.
How many snaps did he get from scrimmage last year?
Goodrich?
Yeah.
0. He was on the practice squad.
He didn't. Was he elevated? Was he elevated for any games?
I'd have to double check. I can double check in the break. I don't think so, though. Yeah. I don't think he was.
So the only advantage he has is he was part of the team. Maybe not playing part of the team, but practicing part of the team. Yeah. And that's the edge.
And just from watching practice, he looks the most comfortable to play. But yeah, can he play at this level? I don't know.
All right, John. This is a question I know you can't answer, so it's kind of an opinion question more than what you've observed type of question. Hassan Reddick is going to play on Sunday with a massive bandage/club on his hand because of the operation that he just had on his finger. You know, the defensive ends, guys who are in trying to get the quarterback and they're not going to be handling the football, so you can get away with playing with a massively bandaged hand, but you still got to be able to use your hands and trying to move off defenders and the like. do we have any concerns that, not that he's going to re-injure himself, because they're going to bandage that thing up and put plaster on it, and he's not going to get hurt using it maybe as a weapon in the game on Sunday. But do you think it has any effect on his play? I think it tells you that no matter how cute the defensive coordinator wants to try and get, I don't think they'll be dropping him back in coverage, which you do every once in a while to try and keep the other team.
Curveball, every once in a while.
I'm okay with that. Then you get to hear people, oh, see, he's a linebacker. Because no, he's not a linebacker. He's an edge player. But every once in a while, he's going to drop back in coverage, okay? Not happening this week with that thing on his hand. Do you think that has any deterrent to his ability to play on Sunday?
Well, not play. He's playing. I mean,
play
is he playing effectively? Yeah, that, I mean, hand work is a big part of pass rushers. And the fact that he's not able to grab, and we got to see, what this thing looks like. Is it going to be a complete club? Then I think it affects you a little bit more, especially early. I remember Jason Pierre-Paul was a great pass rusher, had that club for a while, and he wasn't the same player until he kind of figured it out. And then he figured it out, and it got better and better and better. So I do think there's a chance, especially early, that it affects him somewhat. I don't think he's going to turn into a bad player, but I do think it affects his playing style until he kind of figures out what he can do and what he can't do.
We shall see come Sunday against the Patriots. All right, he's McMullen. I'm McDonald. JM's going to run out of here in about a half an hour. Got to get over to South Philly for media responsibilities. But when we come back, the Mac and Mac guys are going to get on the record about this upcoming season. Spoiler alert, neither one of us is going to have the Eagles out of the playoffs. But will they be winning the division? Will they be advancing to the NFC Championship game? Who's going to be company when they get there? We'll give you seasonal predictions coming up next here on Birds 365.